So you want to start a school, get started in teaching classes, do not get stuck in analysis paralysis. One of the common things to do is to wait until everything is perfected. That'll never happen, just so you know. So what we want to do is give you a checklist, and I've made one here for you, where you can go through and get to teaching your first class in 30 days as long as you execute. Now, a quick note, I am not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA. There are spots in here where you're going to want to check with them for details on things. So I'll point those out as we go through here, but make sure all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed before you actually have your first student show up. You don't want to get yourself into trouble, so we want to make sure that you actually hire the right professionals for that kind of a thing. So with that said, let's dive into this, and I'm going to show you our checklist. This is available for free out on runningkilroys.com. You go in there and find this video. We've got blog entries out there, all kinds of helpful resources. And just go ahead and enter your email address, log in, and you get access to all of this. You can download this and run this this 30 days to your first class, and just check those items off in there, and well, maybe you'll see me in one of your classes pretty soon here. So let's get started. All right, so first thing that we're going to do, maybe something you've already done, is find your school name. You want to do some brainstorming on this, find something that's not been used before. You don't want to come out there and say that you're going to want to, you're going to call it a university or something like that, because it's not. You're not an official institution like that. And so, like with ours, Kilroy's Workshop, there's some meaning to it. For me, with Kilroy was here, the World War II character. There was some family history with that as well that plays into that, and I'll talk about that in my story that you can watch here on the Running Kilroy's channel. But find something that's meaningful to you or to your industry, right? Do some Google searches on that. Check to see if the domain name is available. Treat this as a brainstorming session, though, and literally just come up with a whole list and just do some quick research in it. It's a fun exercise to go through. You want to check the USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office, to see if somebody else has already trademarked that name. It's a quick search, but go out to USPTO. We'll put the link in here. And you can check that. Also check your Secretary of State site. So with Colorado, I go to the Colorado Secretary of State site and I see if that name is taken. Just quick sanity checks to make sure that that name is available. You can also go out and check the domain name too. Very important. KilroysWorkshop.com was available. If it wasn't, first I'd be kind of wondering, because it's a very unique name. But you want to find something that's going to give you a good access point, something that's logical, something that doesn't have weird spellings to it. And we're actually going to do a video on that here in coming weeks, on actually choosing a name and doing all that research a little more diligently. But find your school name, all right? Next thing, we want to come up with a category. Don't overthink this. If you are you're teaching cooking, you're culinary. If you're teaching welding, you're welding. So just write down your category there. Your anticipated location. This does not have to be your final choice of where you're going to be, your long-term vision for this. But you do want to actually find the spot that you're going to be teaching out of. And then your budget for the first month. This stuff is not free. As much as I'd like to say you can do this with zero cost, it's not really going to happen. And so outline what money you have to spend. You don't need to overspend it, but find out what you got in advance of it, so you don't get hit with surprises later on. You know you got some constraints there. All right, so I've got an About You section here. Students need to be confident in your abilities. I want to talk about this About You section, though, briefly, because the classes are not about you. The classes are about your student. I've got a video on that, Who's the Hero. You want to check that out. Remember that it's about the students coming in the door. At the same time, they need to have confidence in your abilities to teach. You wouldn't want me teaching in a culinary institute. If I'm teaching you how to cut, it's going to be the weirdest thing ever, and you're likely to cut off your finger. I'm not the person for that. I can teach blacksmithing, I can teach welding, I can teach other trade skills, but you need to outline why students would come to you. The other thing I want you to dig into is why you want to teach. I know some incredible craftspeople. So they can make anything, they can do anything in the craft, in their chosen profession. They would make terrible teachers. So you got to have the heart of a teacher when you're going into it. That's something that's about you that you're not going to publicize, but it's something to know about yourself. When a student comes in the door, it's all about them and what they want and what they need and that engagement. And so understand that about yourself too. What is it that you're putting into that? What are you getting out of it? It's about you, but it's also about them at the same time. Jot that down here on that cheat sheet and get a clear understanding of it, because at some point somebody's going to ask you, why are you teaching these classes? And you got to have a great answer for that. So, all right, let's move on. I've got the 30 days broken up into 3 different sections. So that first step there, that was just preliminary. You can sit down and figure that stuff out in a matter of a couple of hours. This stuff will take a little more time. So I've outlined these 3 sections here. Not in the importance of execution on here as far as what you get done and checked off, but some of these things take time. So we want to hit those first. If you want to hit your first class in 30 days, some things you need to start right now. So describe your ideal student. I've got that as my first action step up here. Who is your avatar, so to speak? What do you anticipate that student being like? The demographic, the age range, the nature of what they want to learn in it. Again, if you're going to stick with the example of a culinary institute, if you're going to go and have teach culinary classes, is this career? Is this hobby? You know, what type of things are you going to go after there? What type of student would be attracted to the classes that you're teaching? And what level, going back to the About You section, are you at to be able to successfully move this forward? All right, so that's number 1. Now here, you're going to choose one class. You might have a library of classes that you want to do. Don't pick your entire library to start with, all right? Pick one class. You want to be successful at one, all right? So choose that one class. For Kilroy's, it would be like a Foundations of Blacksmithing, or your introductory welding class, or a single jewelry class or something like that, as opposed to, we're going to do this year-long program and we're just going to go kill it. Pick one class and then get really, really good at that, okay? All right. We've got a video on choosing the right legal format for your school. I didn't start this off and just be like Ron in his garage kind of a thing. I actually set up a single member LLC. Go watch our video on building the right framework for your school, choosing the legal structure for your school, and then talk to an attorney or a CPA to find out what would work best in your situation for your tax status. You want to make sure that that's right. Single member LLC is what I did, and it's as easy as filing with the Secretary of State. This is one reason why we went ahead and we chose our name already as well. All right, so we want to determine where your class is going to meet now. So we put our anticipated school location. Now we want to move ahead and actually find the spot. And this is going to take some legwork. I went and I found a real estate professional to actually help me out with that. That was after I got going, though. My first step was I actually drove out to a local airport and I found an airplane hangar. And I could get into that and test that out. It was, from a legal perspective, it was the right occupancy, it was the right zoning area for that, and we could go ahead and do that. Even if it's in your garage or in a secondary garage, or you've got a friend spot that you want to teach that first class, keep it low cost if you can, and see if that space is going to work. But you want to start picking that location. So talk to people, share your ideas with them, what it is that you're planning on doing. Ask for advice. People are free with advice, and so they're happy to give that to you. But you want to make sure you dial that in sooner than later, because this is going to come back later on. You don't want this to, day 28, 29, trying to figure that out when you got students coming the next day. All right. Now, we want to go ahead and get a bank account. Separate your finances from your business's finances. In order to get the bank account, you need to have your legal structure set up, like your LLC. You need to have some base documents filled out, depends on the nature of your state and the organization that you've chosen. Articles of incorporation, if you're going to be a corporation, things like that. And so bring all of that to the bank. Contact the bank ahead of your meeting to get this set up. The first business bank account that I got took me about 30 minutes to get it set. I went last year and got another one set up. It's 3 hours. So it's changed a lot. They go through an awful lot of detail on there. They're pulling your credit report. They're doing all kinds of different things with it. And so get all of the documentation that you need. So when you walk in, you can walk out with a bank account ready to go, as opposed to going home and setting up another appointment and dragging this thing out for an extended period of time. So get that dialed in as quickly as you can. Now, I've got business insurance on here. I can't stress this enough. It took me forever to find insurance for a blacksmithing school teaching kids ages 9 and up how to do blacksmithing, when the people I was talking to had no idea what blacksmithing was. And so we've got a video actually out there on finding insurance. And so check that out on our YouTube channel. Insurance, though, you want to start tackling that soon, because it's going to take that agent some time, depending on the nature of your trade. and you not having a track record of teaching these classes, it's going to take them some time to actually find a good insurance policy for you. So in the first 10 days, talk to an insurance company and maybe talk to 3 or 4 insurance companies and see if they can get you dialed in. Very, very important. Do not host your first class without insurance. That's a dangerous way to go, okay? You might be able to get away with it for a while, but if somebody has an accident, you want them covered, you want you covered, all right? Now, I've got joined social media groups related to your category and see what questions they're asking. If they're asking questions, that's a good class. And so do some of that research ahead of time. I've already asked you to fill out and pick one class that you're going to run with. This might be your second or third class, or you might still want to change things up a little bit or incorporate some of these questions into your class. But check the social media forums and ask questions yourself and just start floating it out there. Start helping out on social media groups. Be that person who's got some of those answers. And remember that, you're there to give information freely. You give that information. Your classes are for coaching, and, people will come to you in that as well. But you can actually go out there and engage with folks right away, and that will help you become a better teacher. Okay? Now, do some research in your local area. You might find some other schools that are already offering what you do. For example, if I'm looking at dance classes or gymnastics, we've got them all over town, but each one of them has a difference to it. And so you want to figure out what those differences are and what makes you unique. Because at some point, again, somebody's going to come to you and say, why you? And you're going to be able to say, well, these guys do it this way, we do it this way. They serve this group, we serve this group. And you've got those answers already. If you find that you're doing exactly what somebody else is doing and they're doing it well, you might find a different niche that you're going to go after. All right. So treat it like a business too. Do that research, figure out how to position yourself in relation to your competition. All right. All right. So we're going to move on to the second section here. This is days 11 through 20. So I want you to take a look here. I've got read or listen to Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Great marketing book on there. In the last section, I forgot to mention it. It was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Great books. Audiobooks on these things are phenomenal as well, but you want to pay attention to those. Read, absorb that information, take it in, take it to heart. In Building a Story Brand, he talks in there about how to approach your customer relationship. They are the hero of the story when they come through the door, not you. It's not about you, it's about them. And so figure out what it is that they need. And that's the moral of the story, so to speak, behind Building a Story Brand. All right, so on the planning and action steps, you want to figure out what is your minimum class size and the name of that class. Start thinking about things in terms of marketing, what would draw people in. So I had a class that I had called Forging a Blacksmith's Knife. It's a traditional blacksmith's knife. Crickets were chirping. Nobody signed up for the thing. It didn't go anywhere. It's also called a Viking knife, small Viking knife. It was less commonly used because it wasn't just Vikings who actually used this style of knife. But I changed the name to Forging a Small Viking Knife. All of a sudden, I had a wait list going. So names are important. It casts a vision for your audience as well. And so if you're going to teach a class on welding, make it appropriate for welding, but also then inspire the imagination, right? Come up with some great projects or something like that. And for that first class, it could just be as simple as Foundations of. Right, something like that. We got Foundations of Blacksmithing, our Blacksmithing Foundations class. It's a very popular class because people who are coming in introductory, they don't necessarily want to start off with, I'm going to make a Damascus sword kind of a thing. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they're very happy with doing a Foundations class, and it really lets them know what they can expect when they come in. If your branding for your name does not match what you're offering in your content, you're going to have a problem, okay? All right, so that's what we want to do. Now, for the first one, the first class that you do, I suggest that you make it a free introductory offer and then ask them for a recommendation. If you can get referrals out of that, get feedback from them on that, they're going to be happy and you're going to be happy. And Alex Hormozi actually says this when he's talking about giving stuff away for free. For that first one there, for that first class, you're getting a deal. If you give it away for free, you're getting feedback and you're getting valuable information. And especially if they give you a 5-star review, you're getting the better end of that bargain. So consider giving that away for free. Treat it as market research, okay? Now, by now you should have a good idea of where you're going to hold this class, your location. You want to continue going down that path, though. And in conjunction with your insurance, you want to get both of those things locked in. That's why I started in Section 1 with insurance, because you're going to need to start the process there. Move that into Section 2. We want to start dialing this in and start pushing for a conclusion on that. So know where your first class is going to be held. Know that you've got insurance in place. If you've got that done already, congratulations, you moved a whole lot faster than I did on that. And so I was actually pushing it quite a long time trying to get all that stuff dialed in. Of course, I didn't have anybody telling me what I needed to do. So take that to heart. That was a pain point for me. Now, you're going to want to evaluate your equipment needs. If you're a welder, make sure you've got enough welders for your students. If you're doing plumbing, make sure that you've got all of the tools necessary, not just your set, but enough for your students to participate in. Determine your class size. If you can only handle 4 students, maybe dial that back to 3 or 2 for this first class, okay? That eases your equipment needs, and you can still practice with teaching them. They get a great experience out of it and learn a ton. And so it's even a handshake there that you can actually give them good value for their money, even if it's free for their time, okay? Now, ask people, if they would do you a favor by joining your class. Getting that first class filled, it's a great feeling. I remember when my first students came in, I went home and I told my wife, it's official, we've got a school. It's a great feeling, even if they don't pay. I literally went around to my neighborhood and I said, I'm teaching this class. We've known you for a long time. Would you bring your kids? We're going to set this up. Feel free to stay. You could drop them off and come back again, whichever you want to do. And I learned a ton through that process. And you'll be surprised, I think, at the number of people who will take you up on that. They've got a free Saturday. They'll want to come in there and take part in that class. It's invaluable, though. And so go ahead and just kind of put yourself out there, even if it's uncomfortable doing it. Sometimes it feels weird doing it. You'll get better at it. You'll get practiced. And so lean into that and engage with your neighbors. All right. Now we're going to jump ahead now to the third section, days 21 to 29. I've got on here the reader listened to the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. I make reference in there. I've got three lessons that I learned from the E-Myth Revisited on another video here. Excellent book. You're going to want to listen to this thing over and over and over again at every stage of your business. You're going to learn something new in there. So let's dive into the planning and action steps for the third section. Now, we're really focused on getting dialed in. If you need to sign a contract for something, do it. But remember, your name is on it, not just your business's name. So if you sign a long-term lease, that better be the spot that you're going to be in for a long time, because you're going to have to continue making payments. I've got another video on the location. Again, I encourage you to go back and watch that. It's a longer video. I go through more things there. But you want to make sure that you've got the spot to host the class so you can tell people where it's going to be. Now, focus on the execution of your class. How long is it? Is it 3 hours? Is it 6 hours? Is it multi-day? Get that equipment that we were talking about in the last section. You're going to want to bring that in, get all your materials staged so that this is not a last-minute scramble, and now you're trying to find things on the last day, okay? So get that dialed in. Know your students. They're the hero of the story, not you. Remember that they're the focal point of this class. Actually write down in more detail now about who you expected to be sitting in front of you, and if you know them, and you've done what I advised you to do in the last section and gone out to the community there and asked, you already know who they are. So write some of those things down. Ask them, what would you hope to learn out of this class? And it might be something different than you expected. And so make sure that those boxes are checked with your students as you're going through it. Get their input as well, all right, in advance of the class. That way you can hit their expectations. Now, you do need a waiver. Again, I'm not an attorney, so go talk to one. I do have our waiver that we use out online, free to download. So go to runningkilroys.com and find this video, click on the download resources button, and you're going to be able to download all of our forms and stuff like that we've got out there. I've got this again, the checklist, as well as our waiver. So you can find those out there. Take that to your attorney and see what they have to say about it. If there's anything for your industry or your community, your state that needs to be adjusted to that, feel free. This is my gift to you. And so go out there, use that thing, and then find what's appropriate. But do contact that attorney, because they're going to probably have some different insights into certain things in your industry, okay? Now, once we've got that, we've got day 30, your class day. This is the time to relax. You just put in a month's worth of work setting up for this. When they walk through the door, none of that matters. Just chill. Have fun with them. Engage with them. Ask them questions. This is a time to come together as community. Lean into it. Ask them the engaging questions. If you see them struggling, you're going to see them move past that. And it's one of the most enjoyable things I've found with teaching these classes is when I've got a student in front of me who might be struggling with it, or they're just really interested in it. They've always wanted to learn that skill that I'm passionate about. That makes me even more passionate to teach it, because this could be life-altering for them. That person who's coming in the door, we can assume all we want, writing out our avatar, why they're there. At the end of the day, though, we're a community. And so they come into your space, and you're sharing part of yourself with them. It's a very cool connection. And when you can see a light bulb moment go on, right, where they're just like, oh, I get this. I've been struggling with this for a long time. That is such an amazing feeling for both of you. Fist bump, high five, celebrate, make it a fun time for them. Because again, it's about them, not about you, but we get to get as much as they do through this exchange, right? I get to live through their joy of it. I can have somebody come in here, and I mentioned the Viking knife. We can make 1,000 Viking knives, right? But somebody comes in here for the first time and they're making a Viking knife. It's not about the knife. It's about them. It's their first time making that knife. And I get to relive that all the time. The excitement, they just did this thing. And it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. And if you're not feeling that in the midst of that class, evaluate if teaching a class is right for you, because that's the heart of a teacher right there. So you can have all the technical skill in the world, but if you don't have the heart of a teacher, evaluate whether you want to be running a school or not. Okay, that's one of the benefits of actually trying this out with one class and keeping everything in line and kind of low key at first, is you can figure out if this is actually a path that you want to go down, instead of going out there and spending $100,000 on the great setup and then finding out, I really hate this thing. Well, find out if you love it. I mean, I was hooked from day one when I did this. And so you'll know, all right? And then when you're done teaching, ask for feedback. Ask for online reviews. If you've got a website, go build that, because they're going to need that in order to do an online review. Create a Facebook page. But solicit that feedback. So that's how you get better. I still ask for feedback. We've been doing this 11 years, and I still ask for feedback from people all the time. What could we do better, right? Because we're always changing, we're always shifting, we're always adding new classes. And so solicit that feedback. Sometimes it's hard to take, but it's worth taking it, okay? All right, so with that said, go out to runningkillroys.com. We've got all kinds of free resources out there. We also have journeyman and master classes. So if you're struggling with implementation on getting started, or if you're running a school already and you want to improve things, you want to figure out what your KPIs are, and if you don't know what those are, you should know what those are. Check out our video on KPIs, and then we can actually dive into the implementation of things through the journeyman and master classes. And we love teaching those things. We do them seminar format, online learning management system, and I walk with you for 3 months as we work through these lessons, and I'll teach you how to actually get an efficient school running so that it's profitable as well. If it's not profitable, it's really tough to stay in business. So runningkillroys.com, and we'll see you later.